the genius of dry lands. In the dry plains of Goma, a remote village nestled between arid hills, the sun had become both friend and foe. Once, the golden rays nurtured their fields, yielding bountiful harvests of maize, millet, and sorghum. But now, the sun had overstayed its welcome. Rain, the lifeblood of their crops and rivers, had ceased. The sky, an endless expanse of blue, refused to shed a single tear for the people below. The year had been hard on the village, with cracks in the earth mirroring the lines of worry on the elders' faces. The rivers had dried, the wells dug deeper every month. The once green fields had turned into dust bowls. It was a drought like no other, and with each passing day, hope seemed to shrivel like the leaves on their wilting trees. In this desolation lived a boy named Lemuel. He was 14, slender with keen brown eyes that absorbed everything like a sponge. Though young, he had a mind sharper than many adults in the village, always asking questions and tinkering with whatever he could find. But this drought had silenced his playfulness. It gnawed at him, the same way it gnawed at everyone else. Lemuel lived with his grandmother, Uni, a woman who told stories of how Goma had once been a paradise where rivers danced and the soil was rich. Every night, as they sat under the withered trees, she would tell him of a time when the village thrived, and it was this image of a lush, flourishing Goma that stayed in Lemuel's heart. But Goma was no paradise now. Day after day, the villagers gathered under the big baobab tree to discuss their growing concerns. Food was becoming scarce. Children were falling ill. Cattle lay dead in the fields, unable to survive the scorching heat. "We can't survive like this," one villager lamented. "Our wells are dry, and the market routes are closed. No one will help us." They say the drought has spread across the entire region. Murmurs of fear spread among the people. They were trapped, isolated, and on the verge of famine. While the adults worried and argued, Lemuel listened. And he thought. He had always been good at puzzles and problems. The village elders would often call him the tinkerer because of the little inventions he created. He made simple things, a pulley to lift water more easily from the well, or a sundial that helped track time. But now, Lemuel's thoughts were occupied by one simple, urgent question: how could he save his village? One evening, after a particularly tense village meeting, Lemuel overheard two elders talking. There are towns far away, beyond the mountains. They have resources, machines that can pull water from the ground even when the wells are dry. But how could we possibly reach them? The journey is too dangerous. Lemuel's mind sparked with an idea. He ran home to his grandmother, heart racing. "Grandmother, do you think it's possible to send word to the cities beyond the mountains?" Uni looked at him skeptically. "No one has made the journey in years, Lemuel. The paths are treacherous, and we have no means of communication. Even if someone made it, why would the cities care about a small village like Goma?" Lemuel frowned but refused to give up. "What if we didn't need to send someone? What if we could send a message that would travel faster than any person?" Uni chuckled softly. "And how would you do that, child? A bird, perhaps?" But Lemuel wasn't joking. His mind was already working on a solution. The next day, Lemuel set to work. He scavenged through the village, collecting whatever he could find: scrap metal, old wheels, mirrors, anything that could be of use. The villagers, used to seeing him tinker, didn't pay much attention. Some even chuckled, assuming he was building another one of his harmless contraptions. But Lemuel had something bigger in mind. He remembered from his books that cities far away use light and mirrors to send messages across vast distances. The idea of signaling across the mountains took root in his mind, but he knew it couldn't just be a simple light. It had to be big enough, bright enough to capture attention. Lemuel began constructing what he called the beacon. He climbed the tallest hill, where the old village lookout tower stood, a relic of a time when Goma needed to protect itself from invaders. Now, that tower would serve a new purpose. Over the next few days, he built a series of mirrors, positioned carefully to reflect sunlight in a focused beam. He used broken glass and metal shards to amplify the light. At the center of it all was a large rotating mechanism he built from bicycle gears and old ropes. When the wind blew, the mirrors would rotate, sending out flashing bursts of light, a signal that could be seen for miles. The villagers, at first, were skeptical. What good will this light do? The cities are too far, and we have no idea if anyone will see it, they said. But Lemieux persisted. He knew the cities were advanced, with technologies far beyond Goma's means. Maybe, just maybe, someone would notice. For days, Lemieux climbed the hill to adjust the beacon, perfecting its rotation and brightness. The villagers continued their struggle, and as the wells grew drier, their hope began to fade. But Lemieux's beacon remained. Weeks passed with no sign of hope. Lemieux's beacon shone brightly each day, sending its message into the distance, but there was no way to know if anyone had noticed. Some villagers began to mock him openly, calling his invention a child's fantasy. But one afternoon, as Lemieux was adjusting the mirrors, something strange happened. A low rumble echoed across the dry plains. At first, it sounded like thunder, but the sky was clear. The rumble grew louder, and soon, a cloud of dust appeared on the horizon. The villagers, alarmed, gathered to see what was coming. As the dust cleared, they saw something astonishing, a convoy of trucks. They were large, modern machines, the kind of vehicles only seen in the distant cities. The trucks stopped at the edge of the village, and out stepped a group of men and women, dressed in the uniforms of engineers and officials. "We received your signal," one of the engineers said, holding up a small, high-tech device. "We've been tracking strange light patterns from this region for weeks. At first, we thought it was a glitch, but then we realized it was deliberate." "Who sent the signal?" Lemieux stepped forward, nervous but proud. "I did. Our village is in trouble. We have no water, and our wells are dry. We need help." The engineers looked at each other, impressed. "You built a communication device out of scrap metal and mirrors? That's incredible." They wasted no time. Over the next few days, the engineers set up equipment to drill deep into the ground, finding reserves of water that the villagers never knew existed. They installed solar-powered pumps and water filtration systems. The people of Goma watched in awe as fresh water flowed once again into their fields and homes. But the engineers didn't stop there. Seeing the ingenuity of Lemieux's beacon, they decided to help the village develop further. They provided solar panels for energy, irrigation systems for farming, and even trained some of the villagers to maintain the new technology. Within months, Goma was unrecognizable. The dry, cracked earth was replaced by lush green fields, irrigated by the new systems. The village, once isolated and on the brink of collapse, had become a beacon of hope for the surrounding region. Word spread, and soon neighboring villages began to visit, seeking advice and assistance. And at the heart of it all was Lemieux. His creativity and determination had saved his village from ruin. The engineers, impressed by his intelligence, offered him a scholarship to study in the city, where he could learn more about technology and engineering. But Lemieux, though grateful, wasn't ready to leave his village just yet. "I want to help Goma grow even more," he said. "There's so much we can still do." And so, with the support of the villagers and the engineers, Lemieux began working on new projects. He improved the irrigation system, designed wind turbines for energy, and even helped set up a small school where he taught other children about science and technology. Under Lemieux's guidance, Goma thrived. The village that had once been on the verge of extinction became a model of resilience and innovation. And though the drought continued to ravage the surrounding areas, Goma remained a shining example of what could be achieved with creativity, intelligence, and a little bit of hope. Years passed, and Lemieux's name became known not only in Goma but in cities far beyond. His beacon, the simple invention that had brought hope to a dying village, became a symbol of ingenuity and the power of human creativity. Lemieux grew into a young man, and as he did, he never forgot the lessons of his childhood. He had learned that even in the most critical situations, when hope seemed lost, there was always a solution waiting to be found. All it took was someone willing to look for it.